The King Arthur universe is one that definitely deserves to have more games. I've played King Arthur the role-playing war game and enjoyed what was offered there, but it really needed some polish in many areas. The second game was slightly more polished but ended up being far less ambitious. Once again, Neocore Games is back in the realm with their third title in this universe, King Arthur Knight's Tale. Instead of it being a Total War strategy game hybrid, this game is a tactical turn-based strategy game with some kingdom management thrown in there. Does this change make the game worth playing, or does the Knight's Tale fall short? When you start a game, you can pick between the standard mode or a roguelike mode with permadeath and no manual saves. You can then choose your difficulty from 5 options. For this review, I stuck with the standard mode on normal difficulty. After a pretty badass opening cutscene, you assume the role of Sir Mordred, the man who has slain King Arthur and must do it again to save the world. You begin a tutorial of sorts where you find Sir Kay and escape the prison that you are currently held in. After that is when the game begins properly and you are taken to the overworld to select your next mission. Before we get to the overworld and kingdom management present here, let's talk about the flow of missions and general combat. When you select your characters and begin the mission, you'll move about the self-contained map in real time. The maps themselves are pretty linear, but do offer optional locations for you to discover. All will feature a main objective and some optional objectives to complete. Since the game follows a mission structure, every main or side quest you participate in feels like an episodic story being told throughout the game. It's honestly pretty cool having one party for one mission, then switching it out for some characters in another. As expected, all these missions will involve combat challenges. As stated before, all encounters are performed with a turn-based manner, with each character moving along a grid. Depending on the encounter, you will place your troops before battle, while other times you will be ambushed and the enemy will go first. One notable difference compared to many other turn-based strategy games is that many of your strikes are guaranteed to hit. That means you don't have to worry about missing at a 95% hit chance. The same also applies to your enemies, making it important to make sure your lightly armored characters aren't put in harm's way. Speaking of health, you'll notice that your characters have 2 health bars, Vitality and Hit Points. Hit Points automatically recovers after every mission, while Vitality requires your character to stay in a hospice. Once a character reaches 0 hit points, they begin to take vitality damage. Vitality damage can lead to injuries that need to be healed at a church. If vitality reaches 0, that character is killed off permanently. It's an interesting system, although it can get a bit tedious waiting for your character to heal up and remove their injuries in the kingdom. Early on, when your level is still in the single digits and you're still trying to discover characters to add within your party, there are very limited options to play with. Thankfully, more do eventually open up, giving your characters a decent amount of active and passive abilities to work with. One of my personal favorites is the ability for vanguards to enter stealth mode. I would combine this with a backstab to take out characters almost instantaneously. Also had a female marksman with the ability to shoot fire arrows, which was crucial in taking out archers in the early game. Many of the abilities you unlock will be useful in some way, and seeing the party synergize with each other is pretty awesome. Along with challenges, missions may feature a temporary character to join you, some dialogue that can alter your alignment, and various other secrets. Most of the dialogue you'll encounter is just to learn more about the world around you and for flavored text, but there are other times where a certain action can have certain consequences. This involves the death of a character or even the ability to handle an encounter through a one-on-one duel instead of against a group. There's nothing really to say about duels outside of them being one-on-one combat encounters, so moving on here. Once a mission is complete, you're back to the overworld where you'll get to manage your party as well as your kingdom. You also get a screen on the experience each character has gained, as well as the items and resources that will aid your quest. It's not always clear, however, why you gain that amount of experience you do per mission. I know that you gain additional experience points for characters lower than the mission level, but I'm not sure about the characters of the same level. Either way, let's get on to the overworld and kingdom management. From here, you can select the next missions to participate, as well as participating in various events. These events may offer you a reward or change your character's alignment, and yes, the morality system is back from prior games. It follows the same old format of rightful versus tyrant and old faith versus Christian. Depending on your alignment, can unlock quests to recruit characters, passive bonuses, and laws and decrees you can enact. For my character, I went with a Tyrant of the Old Faith, which was pretty good since I was able to unlock the OP Lady Morgana Le Fay. And speaking of characters, each character has their own skill tree and weapon type. Each character is locked into a certain role, whether it be champion, vanguard, defender, arcanist, sage, or marksman. The role determines most of their skills, although each character is still unique in their own way. For example, Merlin has many fire-based magic skills, while Morgana Le Fay has skills based on ice. Both, however, are considered to be arcanists. Characters can also equip certain runes based on their level and type of rune, along with various accessories. It feels a bit restricted at first with what you can do with each character, but it ends up giving each character a unique role and sense of identity. Also liked mixing up various characters to see how the party would synergize. Along with leveling up your characters and equipping them with various runes, loyalty is another aspect to keep track of. A character's loyalty is determined by your character's morality as well as the actions taken in various events. Characters with higher loyalty will perform better with higher damage, while characters with low loyalty will inflict less damage with each attack. Either extreme will increase or decrease the amount of actions points the character has respectively. Even if you are a tyrant of the old faith, it is still possible to keep a rightful Christian's loyalty high enough through events and from assigning them titles. Personally, I wouldn't recommend doing this, as it would be easier to have this slot filled by someone who is closer to your morality. For the kingdom itself, you have to build up each and every building from scratch. This will cost you a bit of cash money as well as resources. I've mentioned the hospice and cathedral before, but there is also a merchant's quarters to buy goods, an enchanted tower to acquire legendary artifacts, a training ground to train your characters, and a crypt to honor fallen heroes. Outside of the crypt, each building also comes with its own upgrades. These can be passive upgrades to increase the armor of each hero, while others expand the round table to allow more knights to join you. As good as the early to mid game is, the late game really suffers. After every act is completed, there is a noticeable difficulty spike, where the same enemies have higher health pools compared to earlier. This becomes a bigger issue in Act 3. The amount of health and damage each character does nearly doubles, making battles take much longer and limiting viable builds. My biggest gripe is how certain characters become near useless for how tanky enemies become. It seems after all these years, Neocore still struggles with how to properly implement a difficulty curve. Another issue is how tedious inventory management becomes. You'll end up with so many items that use the same assets, so it's hard to tell what item is better than another without having to hover over each item and inspect them. I eventually made it a rule to sell all common items and only keep rare ones, but then I realized that some of the common items were actually better than the rare ones. Even some of the legendary artifacts became near useless in later acts, having them replaced by rare or common items. Presentation wise, the graphics are nothing special. While the cutscenes look really good for the most part, the character models and environments are a bit lacking. Nothing about the game looks terrible, but it definitely does not match up at all to any of the modern AAA titles. For the audio side, it's also a bit bland with some okay tracks thrown in. I will admit though that there are a handful of tracks that are nice to listen to, but it'll get old fast for how much these songs repeat. Voice acting is also a bit of a mixed bag, with some very solid performances from the characters you'll recruit, while others feel out of place entirely. Outside of the main campaign, there are a few more modes you can participate in. One of them is a mini campaign that does not feature any kingdom management at all. Another is a skirmish mode that allows you to play certain characters that were previously unplayable. Basically, there are a series of scenarios you can participate in if you enjoy the battle system. For a side mode, these missions are actually pretty fun, although the Brigands and Pix missions are DLC. There's also a PvP multiplayer mode, but good luck finding any rooms there. Overall, I do recommend this game, although your mileage will vary. The combat is enjoyable, leveling up the various characters is great, and the morality system is still a ton of fun here. Unfortunately, the game wears out its welcome by the time Act 3 rolls around, with horrible difficulty spikes that make the game tedious to play. Thankfully, I did put 30 hours in the game by that point, and I don't regret playing this one at all. Still, I would like to see another entry in the King Arthur role-playing wargame series that goes all out in a fully fledged sandbox campaign similar to Total War. That would honestly be my dream game, pitting all the knights against each other, owning a piece of their own land with the Seelie and Unseelie factions. But anyways, I'm getting off topic now, so let's just wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching as always, and this is Powerhouse, signing off.